I've noticed today that my name causes some confusion sometimes, so indeed I'll just explain. I have a Swedish name, but I'm Danish and I work in the Netherlands, so now you know. As Henrik already said, I'm going to be talking about a different way of using the awards module, which is monitoring our PhD candidates. You'll see the name of my colleague, Jos Riekers, is also on the presentation. That's because we've developed this together. So we think that this is a novel way of using the awards module, so you'll see some details about this. The contents of my talk today will be to first look into why we would want to use Pure to monitor our PhD candidates. I'll show you some visualizations of how we wanted to match what Pure offers with what we need to register. Also go into some detail about how we then actually monitor our candidates in Pure. If time allows, I will do a quick demonstration in our Pure environment, but I'm not sure if we will have time for that. And then I'll conclude. Is this too loud? Is it too close? Can everybody hear me? Fine? I need to be closer. Okay, thank you. So I'll jump right in. We have basically three main reasons for wanting to use Pure to monitor our PhD candidates. The first one is that we are a very small university. It's very different from Manchester. Because we're so small, it doesn't make sense for us financially to try and purchase or develop a standalone system to monitor the PhD candidates. Also have to bear in mind that our number or volume of PhD students is rather low. We have somewhere between 15 to 25 graduates per year. So that gives you a kind of an idea of what size organization we are. The second reason excuse me. Second reason is that we currently don't see the full picture of what's happening with our candidates. Because we are an open university, we do distance teaching, so all of our students follow online courses. There are opportunities to have physical contact, but it's few and far between. So most of our students, and this includes our PhD candidates, will combine their study with work, and which means that they study part-time. And especially our external PhD candidates who don't have a formal working relationship with the OU are very difficult to monitor. So our idea is actually that by using Pure, we can actually increase the level of contact between the organization and the candidate through various prompts and reminders and in general a more systematic approach to the monitoring. An additional reason that we want to use Pure is basically that we currently have a partial paper administration, so this is also a step towards digitization and more efficient workflows. So the third reason is related to the first two. Basically, we lack data to do full analyses, so we don't have progress information about how far our candidates are, whether they are still active, some stop and never complete their trajectories. So things like predicting supervisory capacity, number of graduations to plan in a year or in a month becomes very fuzzy. So basically we want to improve this, and we need to improve this because the ambition as a university is to increase our number of PhD graduates as well as the percentage of successful candidates. So what's the idea with Pure? And I'll give a little bit of background here because Pure was purchased as the core system for quality control in research. At the OU, it was implemented in 2018, so it's indeed still quite new. We're exploring new modules and how to deal with them. Jos has been working for many years to try and get this implemented within our organization, so it's finally happened, and we're very happy with that. It offers us a lot of opportunities. And basically, with Pure, we can track our research activities, and PhD trajectories is a big part of this for us. So what we need to track is the progress of our candidates, their output, and their use of resources, especially supervision. As mentioned previously, it's not an option for us to get a standalone system only for PhD monitoring, so that's why we've looked into Pure. And we need to connect a number of different elements in order to monitor correctly. This means connecting people with resources, with funding, with organizational structure, with outputs, as well as progress or workflow steps. And Pure offers all of this. So on my second image here on the slide, I've asked the question, why would we use the awards module? Conceptually, a PhD trajectory is more like a project. You carry out research, you have certain milestones, and especially these milestones are the key because they are the crucial part, the core functionality of actually monitoring what achievements a PhD candidate achieves. And so that's why we've chosen the awards module. It's simply because the functionality of adding milestones is only available within awards. So I'll move on quite quickly to visualizing the PhD trajectories. We've used the concept of metro maps here, and this helps us to visualize what are the different steps that PhD candidates go through, and then to match that with what can we register within Pure. And so stations are events, and when you combine events, this leads to a process line, and this then represents the trajectory of our PhDs. And you'll see sometimes we have several lines, and where these lines cross, we have transfer stations, and this is also then a signifier for the relations between content types within Pure. So this is our metro map that we've created. You'll see there are 5 process lines, which are also 5 content types within Pure. I've written on the slide as well, Pure enables relations between these various types of content, and you'll see that awards and publications, for example, is not able to directly be linked. So that's something that we actually miss, and we would like to see implemented at some point if it's possible and fits within the roadmap. I'll go into this in a little more detail now. It shows the main steps that we need to undertake in order to monitor. So it's the creation of persons, creation of users, creation of awards, including milestones, and the creation of publications, and a potential to work with projects as well. So we have each line in a different color. And as I said before, the transfer stations create our relations between the content types. And stations along a specific line indicate a status change or an information input. So, and we've also created a second metro map, and this one actually is a visualization of the workflow that we've chosen to implement within Pure. You'll see that there are 2 main processes, which is the long green line, which is the awards process, and then the important sub-process of adding milestones, which is in red. And again, one moment, again it shows that the relation to projects is an option to consider. At the moment it's just, there's not many stations, it's just able to connect with all the other elements. But for now, I'll go into some more detail and explain the workflow following the module interface. So, the first step when you want to create an award in Pure is to select a template. We already use the choice of template to indicate which type of candidate is being tracked. And this is probably different in different countries, but the Dutch system uses 6 different PhD types, and they're listed on the slide. These types are related to funding and the existence or absence of a formal work relationship with the awarding university. And this is important to register because we have certain reporting obligations. And so to enable the registration of these various PhD types, we've created a new template, which we've called Graduate School Awards Template, and then created 6 subtypes of that template. And these 6 subtypes can then easily be reported and compared against the 4 standard thesis categories. So that helps us to connect the output with the person. And this may be Dutch terminology, these abbreviations, but it's the internal prepared, external, and external prepared options. The next step is then to actually identify the trajectory. If you were using the awards module in the way that it's intended, then you would have funding information here, or the title of the project, or some other identification of the financial, the grant. But what we've chosen to do is to simply list the name of the candidate. This gives us an immediate overview when we look at the list of awards within Pure. And it's optional to add a title of research or some details. And at the moment, we are actually only using the full name of the candidate, so it's surname, comma, first name, and as I said, this gives us a nice overview when we log into the system. The following step is then to actually link the PhD, or to relate this trajectory to the person, to the candidate who's carrying it out. This is very straightforward in the awards holder section of the awards metadata. So we basically just link to a person who's already in Pure. And it also enables us to create already the affiliation with the organizational structure and research structure. Thirdly, we also set the managing organization to the OUNL Graduate School. This is the unit within our institution that's responsible for monitoring the PhD progress. By setting this managing organization, it also provides a good basis for filtering and reporting later on. And at the moment, our internal candidates are synced into Pure from our HR system because they are employed. However, our external candidates are not, and therefore we manually create them as a user and a person within Pure. So at the moment it's a little bit labor intensive, but with our quite limited number of students, it's manageable. The next step would be to add funding. It's optional how much information you enter here. However, there is a mandatory field, which is the funding organization. So default, we just select ourselves as funding organization. However, there's a slight issue with this because you're not able to select an internal organization in this section. So it means that we're actually not 100% registering accurate data. It's possible that a PhD might also be externally funded, and then we would need to gather this data and enter it into Pure, but we have yet to work out a good workflow for this. And budget functionality is at the moment not used. We select indeed the non-financial option, which the Manchester group was talking about as well. If we were to use this budget functionality, it would probably require an integration with our financial system, and it's not clear yet if we want to do that or not. So as I've said, we currently enter ourselves as funding organization, but we cannot select an internal organization. So I'll come now to the core of this monitoring process, which is adding the milestones. They are defined actually by the workflow of the Board of Promotions, which is the unit within the OU which is responsible for the quality control. So what we've done is we've set up a set of predefined milestones so we can add and edit these per PhD trajectory. We can select none, some, or all of them. So we like that it's very flexible because there are some differences within our milestones. When we use this template, we've decided that because many of the milestones are similar per trajectory, we've just predefined a set, and we've called them the Graduate School Monitoring Milestones, and it consists of 9 milestones. I'm not going into very much detail about it. I'll just say it concerns 2 different contracts we have with our external candidates, a series of 5 forms regarding the appointment of supervisors, appointment of an assessment committee and a defense committee, as well as the defense date so that we know when to close off the trajectory. The way we've chosen to implement these milestones is by having a standard description and only customizing the deadline. And this deadline, it can be either a real deadline for a form that we know has to be submitted at a certain time, months or years in the future. And if we use it as a deadline, we can also use the email reminders, which are a handy function in Pure. However, sometimes we also simply use this field to signify a submission date. If we have received a form, then we enter the date that it was signed and leave it there. Our idea within the OU is that we have 2 administrative members of the graduate school who have access to Pure, and these email reminders should act as prompts for them to contact the PhD candidate and ask about their progress, to see whether they are indeed still active, or whether they have stopped, or whether they need more assistance of some kind or another. Once milestones have been added, they can be marked complete. Once either the submission date or deadline has passed. It's very easy within Pure. There's a detail on the slide. You simply make a check mark next to complete, and then it's also possible to add some documents to this. I'll go into a little bit of detail about how we do this. We've actually set up our final milestone to be the defense date, which is also the date that the PhD diploma is awarded, to kind of complete the whole picture. Because we're not able to relate to the research output thesis, we've actually decided to also upload the thesis as a document in the award. However, this is duplication, and we would much prefer if we were able to just make a relation either between the award and the research output, or in some other way indirectly. And an important detail of marking milestones complete is the completion date. You'll see I have a detail on the slide. So what we're currently doing is we're retrospectively adding data into Pure of PhD graduations that have already occurred. And so because of this reason, it's really necessary for us to backdate these milestones. So we're very happy with that functionality, and it also helps avoid confusion in the overviews, and in fact facilitates the registration of correct data. And now I, in fact, have come to my demonstration. I'm not sure how much time is left. 2 minutes? Then I will skip the demonstration. I'll just explain that it's very handy when you log into Pure. If you have the user role editor of awards or administrator, then you can immediately, when you log in to Pure and navigate towards the awards module section, you see a nice overview of what are the upcoming milestones, what are overdue milestones, and which are completed. So it's a very nice and handy feature. But I'll move directly on then to my conclusions. Pure offers many customizations and does provide us with a way to monitor PhD trajectories from start to finish. I've heard some feedback today throughout the day from different Elsevier staff that actually they don't like the fact that we are using this module for something that it wasn't intended to do, because who knows, it can grow into other things. So if there's a way to move this potentially from the awards module into the project module, if there were to be some kind of implementation of milestones within projects, we're very happy to do that. We'll have to see how it goes. Some of the aspects of this use in Pure requires more investigation. So how do we select an internal funding organization, for example? How do we efficiently use the email reminders and actually embed this into the existing workflow? Do we want to use more budget information in the funding section? Do we want to iron out some details and standardize how we enter all the PhD trajectories? I've written on the slide already, Elsevier can facilitate some of these things if they see that there's interest from other customers as well. We hope that there is. So we could either enable a relationship between the awards and research output, so the doctoral thesis. This would cut out this duplication of files, or, and which might be more conceptually logical, by enabling a relation between projects and milestones, or in fact implementing milestones within a project. That would actually make more sense. So we'll have to see, or spoke with Davina earlier on, and there are some possibilities. So I'm interested to see where this goes, and also to hear what other Pure customers potentially would want to do in this direction. So I just have some closing remarks. Here's my contact information, and from my colleague Jos as well. Where have I taken these images from? It's all said here. And then I would like to thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, shoot.
Thank you, Katrine. I have one question.
Yes.
This reminds me of our first Dutch customer, where we were asked to implement a replacement for a system you have in Netherlands called Carpe Diem.
I'm not familiar with that system.
No, I think it's called Carpe Diem, where you track the PhD process. And somehow you have done this, but using Pure instead. Mm-hmm. That's interesting, because I do not share my colleagues' concern that when you're hacking a system like Pure, it is problematic, and I think you should know that you are going into a slippery path, because we will not know of your use cases when we develop award management.
But now you do.
Yeah, but still, we will not take it into consideration, I would say, because then it's an odd use case compared to the other one. But still, I think it's fantastic, and I think it's something that the product team should look into also.
I agree.
And I don't know if there's other Dutch customers here who'd like to have their reaction on a system like this.
I'm from Maastricht, and we have our own standalone system. So we're very interested in how you're using Pure for this. I'm interested. Do you also use it for management information, like success rates and dropout dates and things like that?
Exactly. We want to get more insight into how many of our candidates are actually successful, how many drop off along the way, all kinds of different information, which the management and the direction will need, which we currently at the moment we don't really have a way of getting this information. So hopefully, if we strategically implement it within Pure, hopefully we can just learn more about what's happening and then how to improve the situation from there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Another question over there.
Sorry, I may have missed this, but do you actually also use the award system for awards, or do you only use it to manage your PhD candidates?
We also use it for awards, but currently we're still looking at how we want to expand our project and grants registration within Pure. So at the moment we have one award, which is actually for a financed project, and the rest are PhD graduates.
I think we have room for one more question.
So also some of the processes, I'm Renze Bransen from the University of Amsterdam. Some of the processes we do in our human resource management system, SAP. I don't know if you have one at the Open University, or
we have an HR system. Yeah.
And is there some connection between?
There is a connection.
Because some steps we don't have in our human resource system.
Well, there is a connection between the HR system and Pure. However, a lot of this information about the progress of candidates is not registered in the HR system, so this doesn't come over.
Well, with the type of, you had some types of PhD, and that's something we have in the SIP system. So that's not something you have, or?
No, at the moment we only have internal, actually employed PhD graduates within the HR system. Oh, okay. So maybe we can improve that as well, but that's a different department.
Thank you.